Train your mind to achieve anything. Introduction. The mind is the master key. Everything you want to change, achieve, or experience in life starts with a single, invisible force, your mind. Before anything becomes reality, it begins as a thought. Every action you've taken, every goal you've set, and every habit you've developed was born from a belief or idea that took root in your mind. This truth is both powerful and humbling, because if our minds create the blueprint for our lives, then learning to shape and guide our thoughts gives us access to a kind of master key, one that can unlock growth, success, and a deeper sense of purpose. Have you ever stopped to consider the quiet influence your thoughts have on your life? Most people don't. They go about their days repeating the same mental scripts, many of which were written long ago, some by experience, others by fear or the opinions of others. These internal narratives whisper things like, "I'm not good enough," "I'll probably fail," or "people like me don't succeed." Left unchecked, these stories shape how you see yourself and what you believe is possible. But here's the good news. None of those thoughts are permanent. None of them are truth unless you allow them to be. Your mind is more flexible than you think, and you are more capable than you've ever been told. The real limits we face are often invisible, not physical barriers, but mental ones. Think of all the dreams that have been silenced by self-doubt, all the talents buried under layers of fear. What if you could start rewriting those mental scripts? What if, instead of thinking small, you trained your mind to think with confidence, courage, and clarity? This isn't just wishful thinking. It's a trainable process. Just like your body responds to exercise, your mind responds to consistent mental training. This idea that your mind is like a muscle is one of the most transformative concepts in personal growth. You wouldn't expect to build physical strength by lifting a weight once or twice. The same goes for building mental strength. It requires small, daily practices. And over time, those practices change your inner world. As your inner world shifts, your outer world follows. When you begin training your mind, something incredible happens. You start to notice your thoughts instead of being controlled by them. You recognize negative patterns and replace them with empowering ones. You create space for new beliefs to take root, ones that push you forward instead of pulling you back. Most importantly, you stop living on autopilot and start living with intention. That's where true change begins. It's not about being perfect or never having doubts again. It's about choosing to show up differently, even when life gets hard. Training your mind doesn't mean you won't face challenges. It means you'll be better equipped to face them. With a strong mental foundation, setbacks become stepping stones. Fear becomes fuel. And instead of shrinking in the face of obstacles, you'll rise to meet them. The truth is, there is nothing inherently different about the people who achieve great things. They simply think differently. They've trained their minds to see possibilities where others see problems. They've built resilience by showing up even when they didn't feel like it. They've practiced the kind of mental habits this book is going to help you develop. And if they can do it, so can you, because the mind is the master key. And when you learn to train it, there's no door you can't open. Chapter 1, The Power of Self-Awareness. We often think that in order to change our lives, we need to fix something on the outside. Maybe it's our job. Maybe it's our relationship. Maybe it's our financial situation. But what if the greatest transformation we could ever make doesn't begin outside at all, but within us? What if the key to unlocking our full potential lies in understanding what's happening inside our minds, our hearts, and our inner world? Self-awareness is not some fluffy idea reserved for spiritual gurus or psychologists. It's the foundation of personal growth. Without it, we're just reacting, like leaves blowing in the wind, tossed around by our habits, emotions, and past conditioning. But when you learn to pause, to look within, and to truly understand yourself, something powerful begins to happen. You start to take control of your life, not just on the surface, but from the inside out. Your inner world is like a silent engine that drives everything you do. It holds your thoughts, your beliefs, your fears, your dreams. Every decision you make, every word you speak, and every emotion you feel begins there. Yet, most people go through life without ever really exploring this space. They operate on autopilot, wondering why they keep repeating the same patterns, making the same mistakes, or feeling stuck. Imagine for a moment you're in a room filled with mirrors. Each mirror reflects a different part of you. Some reflect your strengths, your talents, your courage. Others show your insecurities, your doubts, your fears. Self-awareness is like standing still in that room and choosing to look, not just at the parts you like, but at everything. It's having the courage to say, this is who I am right now, without judgment. And that kind of honesty, it's rare. It's also incredibly freeing. One of the most powerful tools for building self-awareness is mindfulness. Now, mindfulness doesn't mean sitting cross-legged in silence for hours, unless that's your thing. At its core, mindfulness is simply paying attention, really paying attention to what's going on inside you in the present moment. It's noticing your thoughts as they arise. It's becoming aware of your emotions as you feel them. It's observing your actions without rushing to justify or defend them. When you begin to observe your inner world with curiosity instead of criticism, you create space. And in that space, you find clarity. You begin to realize that you are not your thoughts. You are not your anxiety or your anger or your self-doubt. You are the observer behind it all, the one who is watching. Let's talk about something we all experience but rarely recognize in real time: negative thought loops. These are the mental patterns that sneak into our minds like uninvited guests. They often sound like, I'm not good enough, I always mess things up, or nothing ever works out for me. Left unchecked, these thoughts grow stronger and start to shape our identity. We begin to believe them, and worse, we act on them. The first step in breaking free from these thought loops is to catch them, not fight them, not shame ourselves for having them. Just notice them. Think of your mind like a radio. If a negative station comes on, you don't yell at the radio. You don't smash it. You simply recognize, that's that old station again, and choose whether to keep listening or switch the channel. Becoming aware of your thought patterns doesn't mean you'll never have negative thoughts again. It means you'll stop letting them control you. You'll notice when they show up. You'll learn to question them. And slowly, you'll replace them with beliefs that empower you rather than hold you back. Here's something important. Awareness isn't change, but it's the first and most crucial step toward it. You can't change what you're not aware of. If you don't realize you're stuck in a pattern of self-sabotage, how will you ever break free? If you're not aware of how fear is dictating your choices, how can you ever choose differently? Awareness gives you options. It puts the steering wheel of your life back in your hands. It gives you the power to pause, reflect, and make conscious choices instead of being driven by unconscious habits. And the more aware you become, the more empowered you feel, because you realize you always have a choice. Maybe not over everything that happens to you, but definitely over how you respond. Developing self-awareness is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about choosing again and again to check in with yourself, to ask, why did I react that way? Or what am I really feeling right now? Or what story am I telling myself in this moment? These simple questions, when asked consistently and honestly, can lead to profound insights. You might start to notice that your anger is really a mask for hurt, that your procrastination stems from a fear of failure, that your people-pleasing tendencies are rooted in a desire to feel worthy. And once you see these truths clearly, you can begin to heal them. There's a quiet kind of strength that comes from knowing yourself deeply. You become less reactive and more responsive. You stop blaming others and start taking responsibility. You stop chasing validation and start listening to your inner compass. You begin to trust yourself, not because you're perfect, but because you're present. You know your triggers, your needs, your boundaries. You learn to speak kindly to yourself, even when you fall short. The journey of self-awareness is ongoing. There's always more to discover. But every moment you choose to turn inward, to reflect, to observe rather than react, that's a moment of transformation. It might seem small, but those moments add up. Over time, they reshape how you think, how you feel, and how you live. And here's the most beautiful part. When you become more aware of yourself, you naturally become more understanding of others. You see that just like you, they have fears and hopes and inner battles. Your relationships deepen. Your compassion grows. Your communication improves. Self-awareness isn't just a tool for personal growth. It's a gift to everyone around you. Chapter 2, beliefs that build or break you. What if I told you that the life you're living right now is a reflection of the beliefs you've accepted as truth? That the silent stories you've repeated in your head, maybe for years, have shaped everything from the way you walk into a room to how much money you allow yourself to make? It might be a tough pill to swallow, but here's the truth. Your beliefs either build you or break you. You weren't born doubting yourself. You weren't born afraid to dream big or afraid to fail. Somewhere along the way, you were taught to shrink. Those beliefs didn't come out of nowhere. They were passed down, absorbed, and repeated until they felt like facts. But they're not facts. They're just thoughts you've heard enough times to mistake for truth. Let's go back for a second. Imagine your mind as a garden. When you were a child, the soil was fresh, open, and ready. Then people, parents, teachers, friends, society started planting seeds. Some were positive. You're smart. You could do anything. Others weren't. You're too much. You're not good at that. Money doesn't grow on trees. Some of those seeds took root. You watered them without realizing it. And now, all these years later, they've grown into the beliefs you live by. Some of those beliefs help you bloom. Others keep you stuck. The tricky part is, most people never stop to question them. They just keep going, not knowing that they're carrying invisible baggage. A belief like, I'm not good enough, doesn't scream out loud. It whispers every time you hesitate, every time you sabotage an opportunity, every time you downplay your success, and it becomes your invisible ceiling. But here's the good news. Beliefs can be changed. They're not cemented into your soul. They're like software. If the program is outdated or buggy, you can rewrite it. But first, you have to become aware of what's actually running in the background. Ask yourself, where did this belief come from? Did I choose it or did I inherit it? For example, if you believe you're bad with money, is that really true? Or did you grow up watching your parents struggle financially and somewhere deep down decide that wealth wasn't meant for people like you? We internalize so much that isn't ours. Maybe a teacher once told you you'd never be good at math, and now you avoid numbers at all costs. Maybe someone laughed at your dream, and you stopped dreaming. Maybe you were raised in an environment that praised playing small and punished standing out. So now, even when you want more, you feel guilty for it. But you don't have to keep carrying those old stories. You can challenge them. You must challenge them. Start by listening to the things you tell yourself when no one else is around. That inner voice, it's often echoing beliefs that were planted a long time ago. When you hear yourself thinking, I can't, pause. Ask why not. When you feel resistance, dig in. Is it fear speaking or truth? The difference between limiting and empowering beliefs is the difference between a locked door and an open one. Limiting beliefs say, I'll never succeed. It's too late for me. People like me don't do things like that. They are rooted in fear, insecurity, and past experiences. They keep you small because they're trying to protect you from disappointment, from rejection, from failure. But they also protect you from growth, from joy, and from the life you truly want. Empowering beliefs, on the other hand, sound like, I can figure this out. Every mistake teaches me something. I am worthy of success. These are the kind of thoughts that give you the strength to stand back up when life knocks you down. They create space for possibility. They unlock potential. You don't become empowered by accident. You build it day by day, thought by thought. It starts with awareness, and then it takes action. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. Most of your beliefs aren't even based on truth. They're just repeated experiences and emotions that you interpreted a certain way. You can rewrite the story. Let's say you grew up hearing that artists don't make money. So you buried your creativity and chose a safe job. But what if that belief was never true to begin with? What if it was just someone else's fear, passed down to you? There are artists who make millions. There are creatives changing the world. The difference is they chose a different belief. Rewriting your beliefs doesn't mean lying to yourself. It means giving yourself permission to choose what serves your future instead of staying stuck in the past. You're not ignoring reality. You're reshaping it. Building a belief system that supports growth is one of the most powerful things you can do for your life. It doesn't happen overnight, but it does happen when you commit to becoming your own mental architect. You start by replacing the beliefs that break you with ones that build you. Here's how it works in practice. Every time you catch a limiting thought, interrupt it. Replace it with something more powerful. Say it out loud if you have to. Write it down. Feel it. Let it soak into your mind like a new truth. Because that's exactly what it can become. Let's be real. This process can be uncomfortable. When you start challenging the beliefs you've lived by for years, your brain might resist. It'll want to go back to what feels familiar, even if it's painful. That's normal. But don't let discomfort trick you into quitting. Discomfort is not danger. It's just your mind adjusting to a new way of thinking. Remember, your beliefs shape your actions. Your actions shape your life. So if you want to change your life, start by changing what you believe is possible. You don't need to have it all figured out today. You don't need to have unshakable confidence right now. You just need a crack in the wall. Enough space to let in a new possibility. Enough courage to say, maybe I was wrong about myself. Because that's where transformation begins. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are becoming. Every step you take toward reprogramming your beliefs is a step closer to the version of you who doesn't just dream, but acts. Who doesn't just wish, but builds. Who doesn't just survive, but thrives. It starts with belief. And beliefs start with choice. You get to choose what kind of thoughts you'll allow to guide your life. You get to choose whether you'll live according to fear or possibility. You get to choose the beliefs that shape your story from this moment forward. You've been told a lot of things in your life. Now it's your turn to decide what you'll believe next. Chapter 3. You are not your thoughts. There comes a time in everyone's life when they start to wonder why their mind feels like a battlefield. One moment, you feel calm and confident. The next, a storm of doubt, worry, or self-criticism takes over. You might find yourself asking, why do I think like this? Or worse, is something wrong with me? If you've ever been caught in a spiral of unhelpful thoughts, you're not alone. And here's the truth that can set you free. You are not your thoughts. Our thoughts come and go like clouds in the sky. They drift in, some bright and gentle, others dark and heavy. But just like clouds, they are not permanent, and they are not who we are. The nature of thoughts is complex, yet incredibly simple when we step back. Thoughts are automatic mental events, shaped by our past, our environment, our emotions, and our habits. Some of them are helpful, others are not, but none of them define us. The mistake many of us make is believing that every thought we have must be true, especially the negative ones. If your mind tells you you're not good enough, it's easy to accept that as fact. But what if that thought is just noise from your past? What if it's an old recording replaying from childhood? Criticism from someone else that you've unknowingly made your own. Thoughts have power, yes, but only the power we give them. When you understand that thoughts are just mental events, not absolute truths, you begin to regain your power. This brings us to an important shift in perspective, creating space between thought and action. Most people live on autopilot. A thought enters the mind, and before they know it, they're reacting. Angry thoughts lead to angry actions. Doubtful thoughts lead to hesitation. Critical thoughts lead to self-sabotage. But it doesn't have to be this way. You have the ability to pause, observe, and choose. Imagine you're watching a train go by. Each train car represents a different thought. Some are comforting, some are disturbing. You don't have to jump on every train. You can simply stand on the platform and watch them pass. That moment of awareness, that pause, is where your freedom lies. It's where you stop reacting and start responding. It's the space where change begins. One of the most damaging passengers on this thought train is the inner critic. You know the voice. It says things like, you're a failure, you'll never succeed, or you always mess things up. That voice can be loud, persistent, and convincing. It often masquerades as truth. But here's something that might surprise you. The inner critic isn't trying to destroy you. In many cases, it's trying to protect you from embarrassment, rejection, or failure. It developed as a coping mechanism, but it's outdated and unhelpful now. Detaching from the inner critic doesn't mean ignoring it completely. It means recognizing it for what it is, a voice from your past that doesn't serve your future. When it speaks, acknowledge it without judgment. You can even say to yourself, there's the critic again, and then choose not to follow its lead. You don't have to silence it completely to be free. You just need to stop believing everything it says. Once you start observing your thoughts instead of reacting to them, you gain the power to decide which ones deserve your attention. This is one of the most empowering realizations in personal growth. You can choose which thoughts to entertain and which to let go. If a thought motivates you, encourages you, or aligns with your values, hold on to it. Let it guide your actions. But if a thought brings fear, shame, or self-doubt, let it pass. Choosing your thoughts is like curating the soundtrack of your life. You wouldn't keep playing a song that makes you feel terrible over and over. So why play painful thoughts on repeat? You have the remote control. You decide what plays in your mind. This process takes time and practice, and that's okay. You're not expected to be perfect at it. Even the most mindful people still get caught up in unhelpful thoughts from time to time. The goal isn't to never have a negative thought again. The goal is to not let those thoughts control your life. Every day offers a new chance to train your mind. And training doesn't mean forcing positivity. It means building awareness, compassion, and choice. It means understanding that your mind is a tool, not a master. You can sharpen it, guide it, and use it for good. Remember, your thoughts are not your destiny. They are not facts. They are not who you truly are. You are the one who observes them, who chooses which ones to believe, and who has the power to act in alignment with something deeper. Your values, your goals, your heart. Chapter 4. Focus, the gatekeeper of your reality. What if I told you that your reality is not shaped by what happens to you, but by what you choose to focus on? This idea might seem too simple at first glance, but it's one of the most powerful truths in the world of personal growth. The way you focus determines how you interpret your experiences, how you respond to challenges, and what kind of life you ultimately create. Your focus is a lens through which you view everything, and that lens can either sharpen your vision or distort it. Every moment of the day, your mind is processing information, from the sound of a passing car to the thoughts running through your head. Your brain is constantly receiving input. But here's the thing. You can't focus on everything at once. You filter reality by giving attention to what you believe matters most. And that means what you focus on, whether the problem or a possibility, gets magnified. That's why two people can experience the same event but walk away with completely different perspectives. One saw hope. The other saw defeat. The difference was focus. The mind is like a spotlight. Whatever you shine it on becomes brighter in your awareness. If you constantly focus on what's wrong, what you lack, or what you fear, you create a reality filled with stress, frustration, and limitation. But if you train yourself to focus on progress, gratitude, and solutions, you start to see the world and yourself in a new light. Suddenly, possibilities appear where there were none. Confidence replaces self-doubt. Energy flows where your attention goes. This is not about ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's about choosing what deserves your mental energy. And let's be honest, mental energy is precious. So many people feel drained not because they're doing too much, but because they're constantly thinking about the wrong things, worrying about things they can't control, ruminating on the past, comparing themselves to others. All of these habits drain the mind, like leaving apps running in the background of your phone. Reclaiming your mental energy begins with awareness. Start noticing where your attention naturally goes when you're tired, overwhelmed, or stressed. Do you spiral into self-criticism? Do you imagine worst-case scenarios? Or do you ground yourself in the present and ask, what can I control right now? The more aware you become of your focus patterns, the more power you have to redirect them. Focus isn't just something you have. It's something you do. And like any skill, it can be strengthened with practice. One of the most effective ways to do this is by learning how to direct your attention with intention. This means being deliberate about what you choose to think about, engage with, and respond to. It means deciding in each moment what matters most. Let's say you're working on a goal, and your mind starts wandering to distractions. Instead of letting yourself get pulled away, pause and ask yourself, is this helping me or hurting me? That simple question can shift your focus back to what matters. The same applies to emotional reactions. If someone says something that upsets you, you can choose to focus on the insult or on your own peace of mind. That doesn't mean ignoring your emotions. It means taking ownership of your response. Intentional focus also involves setting priorities. In a world full of noise, clarity is your superpower. Each day, decide what deserves your full attention. It might be a task, a person, or even a state of mind. Whatever it is, give it your presence. When you focus on fewer things, but with more depth, you get better results. More importantly, you feel more fulfilled. Of course, focus doesn't always come easily. We live in a world designed to pull our attention in 1,000 directions. Notifications, emails, endless scrolling. It all chips away at our ability to concentrate. That's why building daily habits to sharpen your focus is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Start small. Begin with a few minutes each day where you train your brain to be fully present. This could be through mindful breathing, focused reading, or simply sitting in silence without reaching for your phone. Over time, these moments of stillness create mental space. They help you tune out the noise and tune into your inner voice. Another powerful habit is setting time blocks for your most important tasks. During these blocks, remove distractions and commit to single tasking. That means doing one thing at a time with intention and presence. You'll be amazed at how much more you can accomplish when your mind isn't jumping between tabs or toggling between thoughts. Rest is also essential. A tired mind can't focus well. Prioritize sleep, take breaks, and disconnect regularly. Think of your brain like a battery. It needs time to recharge. You wouldn't expect your phone to work all day on 5% battery. So don't expect your mind to function at its best without giving it proper care. The beauty of focus is that it not only shapes what you see, but who you become. Focused people tend to be calmer, more productive, and more in control of their lives. They don't waste energy on things that don't matter. They know where they're going, and they use their focus to get there one step at a time. You don't have to be perfect. Distractions will still come. But every time you choose to redirect your focus to something meaningful, positive, or purposeful, you're building a stronger, sharper mind. And that's what this journey is about. Chapter 5. Your inner dialogue shapes your outer world. There's a quiet voice that follows you everywhere you go. It speaks before anyone else does. It comments on your every action. It reacts to your failures and celebrates your wins. If you let it, it's the voice inside your mind. And more than anyone else in the world, you are in constant conversation with yourself. This inner dialogue might seem small or subtle, but make no mistake, it shapes your reality. The way you speak to yourself in your head creates the lens through which you view the world. It influences how you feel about who you are, what you can achieve, and what you believe is possible. If your inner voice is harsh, critical, or full of doubt, it's like carrying a personal bully around every day. But if it's kind, supportive, and encouraging, it becomes your greatest ally. The words you tell yourself matter more than you realize. They can either lift you up or pull you down. They can open doors to growth, or they can lock you into patterns of self-doubt. And the truth is, many people are living under the weight of their own inner negativity without even knowing it. You might have heard yourself say things like, "I'm just not good at this," or "I'll never be enough," or "What's the point of even trying?" At first, these thoughts may seem harmless, but over time, they create a deep groove in your mind, a mental habit that becomes hard to break. These kinds of thoughts don't just stay thoughts. They shape your emotions. They influence your behavior. And eventually, they become the story you believe about yourself. It's important to understand that your brain listens to everything you say, even when it's just in your head. If you constantly tell yourself that you're failing, your brain will look for evidence to prove that you're right. If you repeat that you're not worthy, not smart, not attractive, or not capable, your brain will begin to filter the world through those beliefs. What you say to yourself becomes your truth, whether it's helpful or harmful. So how we change this? The first step is awareness. You can't shift what you don't notice. Start paying attention to the voice inside your head. Listen to how you speak to yourself when you make a mistake, when you're under pressure, or when things don't go your way. Is your voice kind? Is it patient? Or is it filled with criticism, sarcasm, or fear? You may be surprised at how unkind your inner dialogue can be. We often say things to ourselves that we would never say to someone we love. Things like, "You're so stupid," or Why can't you do anything right? That voice becomes so familiar that we stop questioning it. It becomes part of the background noise in our lives. But here's the truth. Just because you've thought something 1,000 times doesn't make it true. And just because a thought shows up doesn't mean you have to believe it. You have the power to challenge your inner critic. You have the power to rewrite your mental script. Start by noticing patterns. Are there certain phrases or ideas that come up again and again? Do they show up in moments of stress, failure, or comparison? Once you recognize these harmful loops, you can begin to interrupt them. That's when change becomes possible. Rewriting your inner dialogue doesn't mean ignoring your problems or pretending everything is perfect. It means choosing to speak to yourself in a way that builds you up instead of tearing you down. It means being honest, but also being compassionate. It means saying, I made a mistake, but I'm learning, instead of, I always mess things up. It means saying, this is hard, but I can get through it, instead of, I'm not strong enough. It's about shifting from a voice of judgment to a voice of growth, from defeat to determination, from fear to self-trust. And yes, it takes practice, especially if you spent years listening to a critical or doubtful inner voice. But every time you catch a negative thought and choose a more empowering one, you're retraining your mind. You're creating new pathways in your brain. You're choosing the kind of person you want to become. This new inner dialogue becomes a fuel for your outer world. When you start telling yourself that you're capable, you act with more confidence. When you remind yourself that failure is part of growth, you become more resilient. When you speak with self-love instead of self-judgment, you open the door to deeper relationships, stronger boundaries, and better decisions. Empowerment begins with language. The language you use with yourself determines how much courage you'll feel. It shapes how much risk you'll take, how much forgiveness you'll offer yourself, and how willing you'll be to try again after setbacks. You are speaking to your future self with every thought you think today. If your mind were a garden, your self-talk would be the seeds. What are you planting? Are you growing doubt or belief? Fear or faith? Self-hatred or self-respect? You may not control every thought that enters your mind, but you absolutely control which ones you water. And remember, the most powerful voice you will ever hear is your own. You spend more time with yourself than with anyone else in the world. So why not make that voice a source of support, strength, and truth? Start small. Even the tiniest shift in your self-talk can begin to change how you experience life. When you catch yourself thinking, I can't try, I'm learning. When you hear, I'm a failure, replace it with, this is a moment, not my identity. When your mind says, it's too late, remind yourself, I can still start from here. This is not about blind positivity. It's about realistic encouragement. It's about giving yourself the same grace, kindness, and motivation you would offer to a friend, because you deserve that, too, especially from the one person who speaks to you the most, yourself. Over time, your inner world becomes safer, more nurturing, more honest, and more supportive. And as that inner world transforms, so does your outer world. Your relationships improve. Your confidence grows. Your ability to take risks and pursue your dreams expands. Why? Because the person cheering you on isn't a stranger. It's you. And when you become your own biggest supporter, everything changes. You stop waiting for permission. You stop chasing approval. You start living with intention, purpose, and clarity. You start showing up as your best self, not just because you believe it's possible, but because you've told yourself it is over and over until it finally became true. Chapter 6, The Discipline of Daily Progress. We live in a world that celebrates the highlight reel. We see the awards of fame, the before and after shots, the big wins, and we assume it all happened fast. That's the illusion. We scroll through social media and see someone launch a business, lose 50 pounds, publish a book, or transform their life, and it looks effortless. We don't see the late nights, the small steps, the sacrifices, or the days when nothing seemed to move. And because we don't see the full journey, many of us fall for the lie, the myth of overnight success. The truth is, success rarely happens overnight. It happens slowly, day by day, often in silence and without applause. It happens in the ordinary moments, when you wake up early even though you're tired, when you show up even when no one's watching, when you keep going even when the progress feels invisible. That's what real transformation looks like. It's not sudden, it's steady. So if you've ever felt behind because your life hasn't changed as fast as you hoped, I want you to know this. You're not behind. You're building. And building anything worthwhile takes time. One of the most powerful shifts you can make in your mind is to stop chasing intensity and start practicing consistency. It's tempting to go all in for a few days, to sprint with everything you've got, but intensity burns out. It's a spark, not a flame. It feels exciting at first, like when you start a new habit and you're full of motivation, but the real magic is in showing up when excitement fades. Consistency isn't sexy, but it's transformational. It's brushing your teeth every day instead of once a week for an hour. It's working out 3 times a week, not crushing yourself for 2 weeks and then quitting. It's writing 1 paragraph a day until you've written a book. Progress isn't about how much you can do in one day. It's about how often you're willing to show up over time. When you train your mind to focus on progress, not perfection, you start to see growth in a whole new light. You stop expecting giant leaps and start honoring the power of small steps. And those small steps, they compound, like drops of water filling a bucket. It might not seem like much at first, but eventually that bucket overflows. One mistake many people make is setting goals without building systems. A goal is the outcome you want. A system is the process that gets you there. Wanting to lose weight is a goal. Preparing healthy meals each week is a system. Wanting to become financially free is a goal. Saving a portion of your income every month is a system. Wanting to write a book is a goal. Writing for 20 minutes every day is a system. Goals are important. They give us direction, but it's the systems that create momentum. And when you focus on building systems, you remove the emotional roller coaster that comes from waiting to see results. You stop obsessing over how far you have to go and start celebrating the fact that you're still moving. Let me be honest with you. There will be days when it feels like nothing's changing. You'll wonder if your effort even matters. You'll be tempted to give up because the reward isn't instant. That's when you need to remind yourself, progress isn't always visible right away. Like seeds planted underground, growth happens before anyone can see it. Every time you choose to do the hard thing instead of the easy one, you're reinforcing the belief that you're someone who keeps promises to themselves. And that's powerful. Because when you trust yourself, when you know that you'll show up no matter how you feel, that's when you become unstoppable. Here's something else to remember. Your mind loves clarity. If you wake up every day not knowing what your next step is, you'll get overwhelmed or distracted. But if you have a clear system in place, your mind doesn't have to argue with itself. You don't have to negotiate your habits. You just follow through. The secret to mastering anything isn't talent. It's discipline. It's waking up and doing the thing whether you feel like it or not. It's not about being perfect every day. It's about showing up more days than you don't. You don't need to change your whole life in a week. You just need to take one intentional step each day. Think of it like climbing a mountain. You don't get to the top in one jump. You take one step and then another. Some days the path is clear. Other days it's rocky and steep. But as long as you keep stepping forward, you're making progress. And here's the beautiful part. Every step you take builds your strength. Not just physically, but mentally. You start to believe in your ability to keep going. That's why the discipline of daily progress matters. It builds resilience. It teaches your mind that you don't have to rely on motivation. You can rely on commitment. And commitment is what carries you through the days when motivation disappears. Let me tell you this. One small step today is worth more than 100 intentions for tomorrow. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting to feel ready. Start now with what you have, where you are. Your future doesn't need grand gestures. It needs your daily attention. You might be wondering, but what if I mess up? What if I skip a day? That's okay. You're human. This isn't about being flawless. It's about returning to the path. One missed day doesn't erase your progress. What matters most is what you do next. Get back up. Keep walking. Keep choosing growth. You are in control of your effort. You don't need permission to become who you want to be. All it takes is a quiet decision, made daily, to show up for yourself. Every single day is a chance to move one step closer to the life you want. You don't need to sprint. You don't need to impress anyone. You just need to decide that you're worth the effort. And you are. Chapter 7. Visualize it until it feels real. Have you ever closed your eyes and imagined something so clearly that it almost felt like it was happening right then and there? Maybe it was a dream job, a new house, or a moment of victory you've always longed for. That feeling, that moment where your imagination touches something real inside you, is the beginning of transformation. Visualization is more than just daydreaming. It's a powerful mental tool that shapes your reality from the inside out. The science behind visualization is nothing short of fascinating. Your brain, believe it or not, doesn't completely distinguish between what's vividly imagined and what's actually experienced. When you visualize an activity, the same neural networks that would fire if you were physically performing it become active. This means your mind is already rehearsing success before it even happens. Athletes have used this technique for decades to boost performance. Champions picture themselves crossing the finish line, nailing the perfect shot, or standing on the podium before they ever step onto the field. The body then follows what the mind already believes to be possible. But visualization isn't just for athletes. It's for anyone with a goal, a dream, or a desire to grow. It's about creating mental blueprints of success. When you visualize consistently and with clarity, you're training your mind to accept your goals as achievable. Think of it as sketching out the architecture of your future. The more detailed your mental image, the more direction your subconscious receives. You're not just seeing what success looks like, you're creating a path toward it. Picture someone who dreams of becoming a confident public speaker. If that person only focuses on their fear, their nervousness grows. But if they take a few minutes every day to close their eyes and see themselves speaking clearly, making eye contact, engage in the audience, and feeling proud afterward, their mind begins to rewrite its story. It starts believing in that version of reality. And the more they revisit that image, the more natural it becomes. The mind starts to act as if it's already been there, and eventually it follows through in real life. This is where emotional alignment comes into play. Visualization is not just about seeing the picture. It's about feeling it too. Emotions give energy to our mental images. If you're visualizing success but feel doubtful or disconnected, it's like watching a movie with the volume turned down. But when you attach strong, positive emotions to your vision, you supercharge the experience. The excitement, joy, pride, and gratitude you feel as you imagine your success help anchor it in your subconscious. Think about how it would feel to reach your goal. Really feel it. What would it look like? What sounds would you hear? Who would be there celebrating with you? What would you tell yourself in that moment? When your heart gets involved in your visualization, your brain treats it like a memory instead of just a hope. And memories, unlike fleeting thoughts, influence behavior. To practice visualization like a pro, you don't need fancy tools or endless time. You just need intention and consistency. Start by finding a quiet space where you won't be disturbed. Close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Let your body relax and your mind slow down. Then, bring your goal to mind. Make it specific. Instead of just seeing success, picture what success looks like for you. Is it finishing your book? Launching your business? Healing from something painful? Whatever it is, make it vivid. Engage all your senses. Hear the applause. Feel the texture of that award in your hand. See the smile on your loved one's face. Smell the fresh air of freedom. Taste the sweetness of victory. Let those sensations flood your body. The more real it feels, the deeper it imprints in your subconscious. And if doubt creeps in, don't fight it. Acknowledge it and gently bring your focus back to your vision. You might not notice changes overnight, and that's okay. Visualization is like watering a seed. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You trust the process. You keep showing up, and slowly you begin to think, act, and respond in ways that align with your vision. You start seeing opportunities you once missed. You develop courage you didn't know you had. You build momentum. It's important to remember that visualization is not magic. It won't work without action. But what it does is prime your mind for the right kind of action. It helps you believe in possibilities instead of problems. It shifts your inner narrative from I hope to I know. And that shift can be the difference between giving up and going all in. When you visualize it until it feels real, you're not pretending. You're preparing. You're stepping into your future self a little more each day. You're creating a bond between your dreams and your reality. And eventually, those two worlds begin to merge. Chapter 8. Training your mind to embrace discomfort. If you're looking to grow, to evolve, and to become the strongest version of yourself, you need to know one thing. Comfort won't get you there. Real transformation never comes from staying where it feels safe. It comes from moving into the unknown, stretching beyond what feels easy, and embracing the very thing most people run from, discomfort. We live in a world that praises convenience and speed. We're surrounded by technology that promises instant gratification and comfort at every turn. And while there's nothing wrong with enjoying the ease that modern life brings, it becomes a problem when we begin to fear discomfort. Growth and comfort cannot coexist. They're on opposite sides of the spectrum. If you want to grow, really grow, you must be willing to get uncomfortable. This truth can be difficult to accept, but once you do, it becomes freeing. You stop avoiding the tough conversations, the heavy lifting, the awkward starts. You begin to see that discomfort isn't the enemy. It's a sign that you're in motion, that you're stepping into something new. Growth requires discomfort like fire requires heat. It's the friction that changes us. Think back to a moment in your life when you accomplished something you once thought was out of reach. Maybe it was finishing a challenging course, starting a new job, learning a new skill, or overcoming a personal struggle. Whatever it was, chances are it didn't feel easy. You might have doubted yourself. You might have been scared, but you kept going, and that's what changed you. That's what built your character. This is what mental toughness is all about. It's not about pretending that things don't bother you. It's not about becoming cold or emotionless. It's about choosing to keep moving forward, even when everything inside you wants to quit. Mental toughness is built, not born. And it's built every time you show up when it's hard. Every time you say yes to the challenge instead of the comfort zone. But how do you build mental toughness? It starts with your mindset. When discomfort shows up, whether in the form of fear, stress, failure, or doubt, you get to decide what it means. Most people interpret it as a stop sign. They think, this is too hard. I can't do this. But mentally strong people see it as a green light. They think, this is uncomfortable, so I must be growing. Keep going. That mindset shift changes everything. It turns discomfort from something to avoid into something to lean into. Because here's the secret. Discomfort is a doorway. On the other side of it is everything you've ever wanted. Confidence, courage, growth, and success. But you can't walk through that door if you keep turning back. Fear often rides alongside discomfort. The fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of not being enough. These fears are natural. They're part of being human. But they don't have to control you. In fact, fear can become a powerful tool when you learn to lean into it instead of run from it. When you feel fear, it means you're stepping outside your comfort zone. It means you're doing something meaningful. And if you keep showing up, eventually that fear loses its grip. Imagine fear as a wave. If you stand still, it crashes over you. But if you move with it, you learn how to ride it. That's what leaning into fear looks like. You acknowledge it. You accept that it's there. But you don't let it dictate your choices. Instead, you use it as a signal that you're on the right path. There's a beautiful kind of discomfort that comes with expanding. It's the feeling of your old self being stretched to make room for something new. It can feel awkward. It can feel painful. But it's necessary. Just like muscles grow through resistance, your mind grows through challenge. And just like a caterpillar has to fight its way out of the cocoon, you too must push through the resistance to become who you were meant to be. People often wait for the fear to go away before they take action. But the truth is, confidence is built after you act, not before. Every time you step into discomfort and come out the other side, you prove to yourself that you're capable, that you're resilient, that you can do hard things. And with every win, no matter how small, your mental strength grows. It's okay to feel resistance. It's okay to feel like you don't have it all figured out. What matters is that you keep showing up. That you stop seeing discomfort as a warning sign and start seeing it as a welcome companion on your path to greatness. It means you're not playing small anymore. You're not settling. You're not letting fear keep you in the same place. Start small. Push yourself just a little further than you did yesterday. Have the conversation you've been avoiding. Try the new thing even if you might mess up. Speak up, show up, stand tall, especially when it's hard. Because every time you do, you're teaching your brain that discomfort is survivable, that it's not something to fear, but something to grow through. In time, your relationship with discomfort will change. What once felt impossible will become your new normal. Challenges won't scare you, they'll excite you. You'll begin to trust yourself more deeply because you've built evidence that you can handle anything that comes your way. Remember, a comfortable life isn't always a fulfilled one. Comfort might keep you safe, but it won't help you grow. Growth lives at the edge of your comfort zone, and if you want more from life, you have to go meet it there. Chapter 9, The Art of Letting Go. There comes a moment in every journey of growth where we're faced with a difficult yet powerful truth. Not everything is meant to stay. Sometimes, the most courageous thing we can do isn't to keep fighting, fixing, or holding on. Sometimes, the real strength lies in letting go. Letting go isn't about giving up. It's not about forgetting or pretending that things didn't matter. It's about understanding what no longer serves your growth, your peace, or your future, and releasing it with grace. That might mean letting go of people, habits, beliefs, or even parts of yourself that once felt essential. And yes, it's hard, but it's also necessary if you truly want to move forward and create space for the life you desire. Many of us carry emotional baggage from our past without even realizing how heavy it is. We hold on to old stories, past pain, unspoken resentments, regrets, guilt, and wounds that never had a chance to heal. We tell ourselves we've moved on, but deep down, those unhealed emotions are still influencing our thoughts, reactions, and relationships. They weigh down our spirit like invisible chains. You may ask yourself, why is it so hard to let go? The answer often lies in fear. We fear the unknown. We fear change. Sometimes, we even fear who we'll become without the stories we've clung to. But here's what's beautiful. You don't need to have all the answers to begin. You just need to be willing to loosen your grip. Letting go begins with recognition. It starts with being honest with yourself about what feels heavy in your heart. Maybe it's a relationship that has become toxic. Maybe it's a mistake you made years ago that still haunts you. Maybe it's the image of who you thought you were supposed to be, and the pressure to live up to it has kept you stuck. Whatever it is, you owe it to yourself to ask this simple but profound question. Is this helping me grow, or is it holding me back? The moment you begin asking that question, you invite clarity. You begin to see that not everything you've carried has a place in your future. That insight alone can open the door to freedom. One of the most transformative aspects of letting go is forgiveness. Forgiveness isn't just about others. It's also deeply about you. Holding on to anger or resentment can feel like a form of protection. We believe that if we stay hurt, we're somehow making things right. But in truth, unforgiveness is a prison we build around ourselves. It keeps the wound open. It keeps the pain alive. And the one who suffers the most isn't the one who hurt you. It's you. Forgiveness is not saying that what happened was okay. It's not about letting someone off the hook or denying your pain. Forgiveness is about setting yourself free from the emotional grip of the past. It's about choosing peace over bitterness. When you forgive, you reclaim your power. You stop giving the past control over your present. And in doing so, you give yourself the permission to heal. But forgiveness doesn't only apply to others. One of the hardest people to forgive is often ourselves. We carry the weight of regret, of things we said or didn't say, of choices we wish we could redo. We replay those moments in our minds, hoping somehow to change the ending. But the past cannot be rewritten. It can only be accepted and learned from. Regret is one of the heaviest burdens a heart can carry. And the longer we hold on to it, the more it erodes our sense of self-worth. It whispers lies like, you're broken, or you'll never get it right. But what if, instead of letting regret define you, you let it refine you? What if you use it not as a reason to shrink, but as fuel to grow? Letting go of regret doesn't mean forgetting. It means understanding that you did the best you could with the awareness and tools you had at the time. Growth is a journey, not a straight line. Mistakes are part of it. What matters most is what you choose to do next. Will you keep punishing yourself, or will you offer yourself the same compassion you'd give to someone you love? Releasing what no longer serves you creates space, not just in your mind, but in your entire being. When you let go, you open yourself to possibility. You begin to see that healing isn't just about closing wounds. It's about planting new seeds. Seeds of hope, seeds of purpose, seeds of strength. Clearing space allows for new growth to take root. It gives you the freedom to rewrite your story from a place of truth instead of pain. It allows you to reconnect with who you are beyond your past. And it invites the kind of peace that can't be found in holding on. It only lives in the freedom of letting go. Think of your life like a garden. If you never pull out the weeds, there's no room for flowers to bloom. Letting go is the act of tending to your inner garden. It's saying, this no longer belongs here, and making the bold choice to remove it. It's choosing healing over hurt, presence over pain, growth over guilt. You don't have to do it all at once. Letting go is not a single act. It's a process. Sometimes it takes weeks, months, even years to release certain things. And that's okay. Be patient with yourself. Healing isn't linear, but every step you take, no matter how small, brings you closer to freedom. You may cry. You may feel resistance. You may want to run back to the familiar, even if it hurts. But keep going. Trust the process. Trust yourself. You are stronger than your fear, braver than your past, and more capable than you give yourself credit for. And if you ever doubt it, just remember this. You are not your wounds. You are not your mistakes. You are not the person you had to be in survival mode. You are becoming. And becoming often requires releasing. Letting go may feel like losing something, but in reality, it's about gaining yourself back. It's about reclaiming your energy, your time, your joy, and your purpose. It's the path to living fully in the present without the shadows of the past dimming your light. Chapter 10. Breaking Free from Mental Traps. Have you ever felt like something invisible is holding you back, even when you deeply want to move forward? Maybe you've had big dreams, good intentions, even moments of real excitement, only to find yourself stuck in the same place months or years later. It's not always about a lack of talent, time, or opportunity. More often, what holds us back lives inside our own minds. These are the mental traps we fall into without even realizing it. Let's start with one of the most common traps. Perfectionism. On the surface, it might sound like a good thing. After all, what's wrong with wanting to do something really well? But perfectionism doesn't come from a place of excellence. It comes from fear. It whispers lies like, if it's not perfect, it's not worth doing, or if you fail, you'll be judged. So instead of starting, we delay. We overthink. We second guess. And sometimes we never even begin. Perfectionism often walks hand in hand with procrastination. You tell yourself you're just waiting for the right time, the right tools, or the right mood. But deep down, you might be afraid of not measuring up. The longer you wait, the heavier the pressure becomes. Before you know it, the weight of all the things you haven't done turns into paralysis. You freeze. You feel stuck. And worst of all, you start to believe that maybe you're not capable after all. But here's the truth. Perfection is a myth. No one gets it all right on the first try. Success is messy. Growth is uncomfortable. Every expert was once a beginner. Every masterpiece had its rough draft. What matters is not whether it's perfect. It's whether you begin. And beginning means being okay with being imperfect. It means taking messy action. It means writing the first sentence, even if it's awkward, having a conversation, even if your voice shakes, showing up even when you feel unsure. Every step forward is progress, even if it doesn't look pretty. Another mental trap that quietly sabotages growth is the scarcity mindset. This is a belief that there's not enough money, enough time, enough chances, enough success to go around. When you live from scarcity, you're always in survival mode. You compare yourself to others. You compete instead of connect. You hesitate to give, help, or share because you think doing so means there will be less for you. But life doesn't work that way. The most successful and fulfilled people live with an abundance mindset. They believe there's always more opportunities, more love, more learning, more growth. They trust that giving doesn't take away from them. It expands them. And that mindset changes everything. It helps you take risks. It helps you collaborate. It helps you believe that your turn is coming. Not because someone else lost, but because there's room for all of us to win. Shifting from scarcity to abundance begins by noticing your language and thoughts. Do you often say, I can't afford it, I don't have time, or it's too late for me? These statements lock you into limitation. Instead, try shifting to, how can I make this possible? Or, what resources do I already have? The mind will always find what it's told to look for. Perhaps the most painful trap of all is self-sabotage. This one is sneaky. You may want success deeply, but somehow keep pushing it away. You cancel the interview. You ghost the opportunity. You spend hours scrolling instead of studying, investing, or creating. And you're not lazy. You're not weak. You're just trying to protect yourself from rejection, failure, even from being seen. Here's what most people don't realize. The subconscious mind doesn't care if you're happy. It only cares if you're safe. So if success feels unfamiliar or scary, if love, abundance, or achievement are things you've never fully experienced, your mind might reject them before you get too close. It's like a thermostat program to bring you back to the temperature you're used to, even if it's cold, even if it's painful. To break this cycle, you have to rewire your internal patterns. That begins by becoming aware. Start asking yourself, what am I afraid will happen if I succeed? You might uncover fears of outgrowing people, being judged, or failing publicly. These fears are real, but they're not reasons to stop. They're signals to dig deeper. Once you're aware of your patterns, you can start to rewrite them. This is where the work begins. Real mental freedom doesn't come from a single breakthrough. It comes from practicing new thoughts daily, just like you train a muscle. Replace, I always mess things up, with I'm learning to handle things better. Swap, this is too hard for me, with this is new, and I'm getting stronger. The words you speak to yourself shape your future more than you realize. Remember, you were not born with limiting beliefs. You picked them up from parents, teachers, society, past experiences. But just because you've carried a belief for years doesn't mean it's true. And it doesn't mean you have to carry it any longer. You have the power to question every story your mind has told you and to choose a new one. Yes, it takes time. Yes, it takes patience. But it also takes love. Love for yourself as you are now, not just who you hope to become. Because when you love yourself through the process, you stop needing everything to happen fast. You learn to appreciate the slow unfolding. You trust the path. And in that trust, something shifts. You stop trying to control every outcome. You stop needing guarantees. You just take the next right step and then the next. You build belief not by waiting to feel ready, but by acting even when you don't. Let me remind you of this. There is nothing wrong with you for feeling stuck. You are not broken. You are not too late. You're just working through the same challenges every human faces. What matters is that you're waking up to the patterns that have silently run your life, and you're choosing something new. You're choosing courage over comfort, faith over fear, action over avoidance. And each time you do, you loosen the grip of those old mental traps. You breathe a little deeper. You stand a little taller. You reclaim a little more of your power. So take a breath right now and remember this. You are not your past. You are not your fears. You are not your mistakes. You are the thinker of your thoughts, the creator of your actions, and the author of your next chapter. Break free, rewire, reclaim, because your mind is not a cage. It's a key. Chapter 11, Affirmations that Actually Work. Somewhere deep down, we all long for a better version of ourselves. We want to be more confident, more resilient, more focused, and more at peace. And in the pursuit of these qualities, many people turn to affirmations. We've heard the phrases, I am enough, I am powerful, or I attract success. But have you ever wondered why, despite repeating these positive statements, nothing seems to change? Why does it often feel like we're just whispering words into the void, hoping they'll stick? The truth is, Most affirmations don't work, not because affirmations are flawed, but because of how we use them. Simply repeating a sentence without any belief or emotional connection behind it is like trying to water a plant with an empty jug. It might feel like you're doing something helpful, but it won't create growth. One of the main reasons affirmations fail is because they don't resonate with our current beliefs. When you tell yourself, I am successful, but deep inside, you feel like a failure, your mind instantly rejects the statement. It's like trying to convince yourself that the sky is green when you know it's blue. Your brain resists what it sees as a lie. So instead of lifting you up, these kind of affirmations can actually create inner tension. The words you say and what you believe don't match, and that disconnect keeps you stuck. To make affirmations truly work, you need to build them like a bridge between who you are and who you're becoming. They need to feel believable, not necessarily true in this moment, but possible. Instead of jumping to, I am wildly successful, you might say, I am learning how to succeed more every day. This slight shift makes all the difference. Your brain is far more open to a belief that feels attainable. It doesn't feel fake. It feels like progress. And that's where transformation begins. Another important aspect is how you emotionally connect with your affirmations. Think of your emotions as the fuel that drives your mind. Without them, affirmations are just empty words. But when you speak with emotion, when you feel the hope, the courage, the possibility behind your words, they begin to take root. Your brain responds to emotional intensity. It listens when your heart is involved. Try remembering a time when you felt deeply moved, maybe from a song, a quote, or a moment of triumph. What made it stick wasn't just the words. It was the way they made you feel. Affirmations work the same way. If you say, I am healing, and allow yourself to feel the peace that comes with that thought, your mind starts to believe in the healing process. The words begin to feel real, and over time, they reshape your inner world. Of course, belief and emotion alone aren't enough. For affirmations to truly shift your mindset, they need to become a part of your daily life. This isn't a one-time thing you do when you're feeling down or when you need a quick boost. It's a habit, a ritual that grounds you, centers you, and rewires your thoughts. Just like brushing your teeth or exercising, consistency is key. When you show up for your affirmations every day, even for a few minutes, you send a powerful message to your subconscious. This matters. I'm changing. I believe in this. The best time to practice affirmations is when your mind is most open. Right after waking up or just before falling asleep are golden moments because your brain is more receptive to suggestion. These are the times when your conscious defenses are low and your subconscious mind is more active. So when you repeat your affirmations during these windows, you're planting seeds in fertile soil. Over time, those seeds grow into beliefs, and those beliefs shape your reality. But there's something even more powerful you can do. Combine your affirmations with visualization. When you say, I am confident, and you imagine yourself walking into a room with your head held high, smiling and speaking with ease, your brain begins to accept that version of you as possible. This combination of word and image is like a blueprint for your future. You're not just saying who you want to be, you're seeing it, feeling it, becoming it. Some people hesitate to use affirmations because they feel silly or unnatural. That's okay. Change often feels awkward at first. The important thing is to begin. Start small. Speak kindly to yourself. Replace the old, limiting beliefs with ones that lift you up. You don't have to get it perfect. You just have to be honest. Affirm what you're growing into, not what you're pretending to be. And if you miss a day or forget, that's okay too. You're not aiming for perfection. You're aiming for transformation. Every affirmation is a step toward a stronger, more empowered version of you. Some days it will feel magical. Other days it may feel routine. But every time you choose to speak life over yourself, you are training your mind to support your growth instead of sabotaging it. Think of it like learning a new language, the language of self-belief. At first, it might sound foreign, but the more you speak it, the more fluent you become. Over time, those affirmations you once whispered nervously become truths you carry with confidence. Affirmations that actually work are the ones you believe, the ones you feel, and the ones you live. They're not just words you say, they're the messages you embody. So as you continue on this journey of personal growth, remember that the way you speak to yourself matters. Your inner voice can either be your biggest critic or your most powerful cheerleader. And with the right affirmations, spoken with belief and emotion, repeated with consistency, you'll start to hear a new voice, one that says, "Yes, you can. Yes, you are. Yes, you will." This is how change begins, not with grand declarations, but with quiet conviction, not with pretending, but with believing, not once in a while, but every single day. Your words are shaping your mind, and your mind is shaping your life. Chapter 12. Using emotions as a guide, not a master. Emotions are often painted as unpredictable, overwhelming forces. Some people see them as obstacles to logic or roadblocks to personal progress. But the truth is, emotions are not the enemy. They are not something to be suppressed, ignored, or feared. Emotions are signals. They are messages sent by the mind and body, alerting you to what matters, what needs attention, and where growth is possible. Learning to use your emotions as a guide rather than allowing them to become your master is a powerful step in mental training and personal transformation. The first shift begins with understanding what your emotions are really telling you. Every emotion has a message hidden within it. When you feel anxious, it may be pointing to something unresolved or something important you're stepping into. When you feel angry, it might be because a boundary was crossed or your values were challenged. Sadness can be a sign of love, connection, or a loss that meant something. Even joy, when examined, reveals what you truly care about. Instead of rushing to avoid certain feelings, start to get curious about them. Ask yourself, what is this feeling trying to tell me? That question opens a doorway into self-awareness and gives your emotions the respect they deserve, not as rulers, but as wise messengers. Many people are taught to bottle up their emotions or to let them run wild. Neither extreme is healthy. Emotional regulation is not about denying your feelings, nor is it about acting on every impulse. It's about learning to pause, to breathe, and to respond with clarity. One simple technique is grounding yourself when a strong emotion hits. That might look like closing your eyes and taking a deep breath, counting to 10, or placing a hand over your heart and just acknowledging, this is what I'm feeling right now. When you create space between feeling and action, you give yourself the chance to choose your response. That space is where your power lives. Responding instead of reacting is a skill, and like any skill, it takes practice. A reaction is automatic. It comes from the part of the brain wired for survival, fast, defensive, and often fueled by past pain. A response, on the other hand, comes from a place of reflection and control. Let's say someone criticizes you unfairly. A reaction might be lashing out or shutting down. A response, after pausing, might be calmly addressing the situation or choosing not to engage at all. Responding puts you back in the driver's seat of your mind. It reminds you that while you may not control the world around you, you always have control over how you show up. Cultivating emotional intelligence is the long-term path toward mastering your emotional life. Emotional intelligence is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions while also being able to read and relate to the emotions of others. It is not about becoming emotionless. It's about becoming emotionally wise. When you understand your own emotional patterns, triggers, and tendencies, you start making better decisions, building stronger relationships, and living with more inner peace. You learn to sense when you're overwhelmed and take a step back. You become more empathetic toward others because you're more in tune with yourself. One of the most effective ways to strengthen emotional intelligence is to journal your emotional experiences. At the end of the day, reflect on what you felt when you felt it and what may have triggered it. Over time, patterns will emerge. You'll begin to see how certain thoughts lead to certain feelings and how your body reacts to those feelings. That insight allows you to break unhealthy cycles and replace them with intentional choices. Self-awareness is not just about knowing what's going on inside you. It's about choosing what to do with that knowledge. You can also strengthen your emotional intelligence through mindful communication. That means listening with presence instead of just waiting for your turn to talk. It means noticing not just the words people say, but the feelings underneath those words. Emotional intelligence is what helps you navigate conflict without losing your cool. It helps you support others without draining yourself. And perhaps most importantly, it helps you become a safe space for your own heart. Training your mind to use emotions as a guide, not a master, is an act of self-respect. It's the acknowledgement that your emotions are valid, but they don't have to dictate your actions. You can feel deeply and still act wisely. You can sit with discomfort and not be destroyed by it. This isn't about becoming perfect or never feeling upset again. It's about rising above the storm instead of being swept away by it. Some days, emotions will come like waves, strong, unpredictable, and relentless. That's okay. You're not weak for feeling deeply. You're human. But what makes you powerful is your willingness to learn from what you feel, to pause instead of panic, to breathe instead of break, to lead your emotions rather than letting them lead you. Chapter 13, Aligning Thoughts with Purpose. There's something deeply liberating about waking up in the morning and knowing exactly why you're here. Not in a grand, flashy way, but in a quiet, steady, soul-deep way. A sense of direction that guides your thoughts, your decisions, your energy. That's the power of purpose. And when your thoughts begin to align with that purpose, something shifts. Life stops feeling like a blur and starts feeling like it's yours again. But here's the truth most people don't talk about. Purpose doesn't just show up at your doorstep with a spotlight and a big announcement. It's not always one massive calling that you either find or you don't. Often, it's something you discover slowly by tuning into what truly matters to you. Purpose doesn't begin outside of you. It begins in your thoughts. We live in a world that constantly tries to pull us in 100 different directions. We get so used to reacting to everything around us that we forget to check in with what's happening inside us. We start thinking on autopilot. One task leads to the next. One day blends into another, and our thoughts begin to run like a machine with no clear direction. That's how we lose connection with ourselves. That's how we start living by momentum instead of meaning. But here's the thing. Your thoughts have the power to guide your life. Every belief you hold, every story you tell yourself, every inner dialogue you carry, it all shapes the way you see the world and the way you move through it. If your thoughts are scattered, confused, or driven by fear, it becomes nearly impossible to live with purpose. But when your thoughts are clear, intentional, and rooted in what really matters to you, everything changes. So, how do you start aligning your thoughts with your purpose? First, you begin by slowing down. You create space to ask yourself the questions that too often get buried under noise and routine. What do I value most in life? What makes me feel alive? What kind of person do I want to be when no one is watching? What kind of impact do I want to leave behind? These aren't easy questions, and the answers may not come to you overnight, but asking them starts the process of discovering what truly matters to you. It brings your awareness back to your inner compass. That's where purpose lives, not in a job title, not in a paycheck, not in someone else's expectations. Purpose lives in things that light you up and give your life depth. It lives in what you stand for, what you love, and what you're willing to fight for. Once you begin to uncover what matters to you, the next step is to guide your thinking in that direction. Thoughts are powerful, but they're also habitual. Most of us think the same kind of thoughts every day without realizing it. We recycle worries, doubts, self-judgments, and distractions. But when we become conscious of our thoughts, we gain the ability to shape them. Thinking with meaning means asking yourself, is this thought helping me move toward the life I want or pulling me away from it? It means noticing when your mind is drifting into fear or comparison or procrastination and gently bringing it back to what's real, what's true, what's aligned. It's okay if your mind wanders. That's what minds do. But what matters is that you don't let those wandering thoughts define you. You train your mind, over time, to return to purpose, to remember why you started, to choose beliefs and stories that empower you rather than hold you back. When your thoughts and your purpose begin to line up, you'll notice something incredible happen. Your decisions start to feel easier. Your energy gets clearer. You begin to feel a sense of peace, even in the middle of chaos, because deep down, you know where you're going. That doesn't mean life becomes perfect or that you'll never face uncertainty again. But it does mean that you'll face those challenges from a grounded place, a place of clarity and strength. The thought-purpose connection is real and powerful. Just think about it. When your mind is filled with doubts, how do you show up in the world? Usually with hesitation or avoidance. But when your mind is filled with trust and clarity, your actions reflect that confidence. Purpose fuels your mindset, and your mindset drives your behavior. It's a loop, and you get control where it begins. You don't need to have your entire life figured out to start living with intention. You can begin right now, exactly where you are. Ask yourself, what kind of thoughts would someone with my values choose to think today? What mental habits would support the life I want to create? Maybe it's choosing to focus on progress rather than perfection. Maybe it's shifting from self-criticism to self-encouragement. Maybe it's letting go of what doesn't align and making room for what does. Living intentionally is not about being perfect. It's not about controlling every thought or having some grand master plan. It's about being awake. It's about choosing to live each day with awareness and purpose. It's about noticing when you're slipping into old patterns and choosing something better. Some days, you'll feel incredibly aligned and everything will flow. Other days, you'll feel off track. That's okay. What matters is that you keep coming back to your values, back to your goals, back to the person you're becoming. Small moments of intention add up. A 5-minute reflection in the morning, a decision to pause before reacting, a moment of gratitude before sleep. These tiny practices build a bridge between your thoughts and your purpose. They remind you that you're not here to just exist. You're here to live fully, deeply, and truthfully. Purpose isn't found in a rush. It's built slowly, through thoughtful choices and meaningful reflections. And it's okay if your purpose evolves. That's part of growth. What matters is that you keep listening to yourself. Keep noticing what feels right. Keep aligning your thoughts with the direction your heart wants to go. In a world that constantly tells you do more, achieve more, and rush through life, give yourself the gift of alignment. Let your thoughts become your guide. Let them reflect the deepest truths within you. And trust that when your mind and your purpose work together, there's no limit to what you can create. You don't need to wait for a perfect moment to start. You don't need anyone else's permission to live with purpose. You just need a willingness to begin, one thought at a time, one day at a time. And slowly but surely, your mind will become your most powerful ally in building a life that feels like your own. You were never meant to live on autopilot. You were meant to live with purpose. And it all starts with your thoughts. Chapter 14, The Power of Questions. There's a quiet force shaping the direction of your life right now. It's not your job title, your income, or your education. It's not even your circumstances. It's the questions you ask yourself, day in and day out, whether you're aware of them or not. Most people underestimate the power of a question. But questions are more than just requests for information. They are mental steering wheels. The questions you ask direct your focus, trigger your emotions, and influence your behavior. Ask the wrong ones, and you spiral into self-doubt, fear, or stagnation. Ask the right ones, and you unlock creativity, confidence, and clarity. Think about this. If something goes wrong in your life and you immediately ask, why does this always happen to me? Your brain will start searching for reasons. Maybe it's because you're not smart enough, lucky enough, or good enough. But what if instead you asked, what can I learn from this? Suddenly, your brain is on a different mission. It's not digging for blame. It's digging for growth. This is the hidden superpower of your mind. Your brain is always trying to answer the questions you feed it. It doesn't care whether those questions help you or hurt you. It just follows your lead. That's why learning to ask better questions isn't just a communication skill. It's a transformation tool. It can literally change the direction of your thoughts, your choices, and your life. Most of us are taught how to answer questions, but not how to ask them. We grow up memorizing facts and giving the right responses, but rarely are we encouraged to slow down and ask, why am I doing this? Or what do I truly want? That kind of inquiry is often seen as uncomfortable or unnecessary. But in reality, it's one of the most important habits you can ever build. When you begin to ask better questions, you access deeper parts of your mind. You stop operating on autopilot. You stop living out old stories and start creating new ones. You begin to think consciously, and conscious thinking is a foundation of personal growth. Imagine waking up each day and asking yourself, what matters most to me today? That one question could change your choices. It might shift your priorities. Instead of getting lost in distractions, you focus. You align. You live with more intention. Or imagine going through a challenge and asking, what is this teaching me about myself? Instead of feeling like a victim, you step into the role of a student. That shift in identity changes everything. It empowers you. It reminds you that even pain can have purpose when you choose to learn from it. Self-inquiry is a gentle but powerful practice. It's not about judging yourself or finding flaws. It's about becoming more aware. When you ask honest questions from a place of curiosity rather than criticism, you give yourself room to grow. You begin to see your patterns, your desires, your fears, not so you can shame them, but so you can understand them. The truth is, clarity doesn't always come from having more answers. Sometimes, it comes from sitting with better questions. And not just once, but again and again. Who am I when no one is watching? What do I believe about myself? What am I avoiding and why? Questions like these invite you inward. They open doors. They help you make sense of the noise. It's okay if the answers don't come right away. Some questions are meant to be lived with, not rushed. They unfold over time. And in the process of living them, you grow. You discover. You reconnect with parts of yourself that you forgot were there. There's a kind of freedom that comes from curiosity. When you stop needing to have everything figured out and start getting curious instead, confusion becomes less scary. You stop labeling uncertainty as failure. You start exploring it as possibility. You realize that not knowing is not weakness. It's where learning begins. Think of a child. They ask hundreds of questions a day, not because they're lost, but because they're alive with wonder. Somewhere along the way, most of us lose that. We start pretending we have it all figured out. We stop raising our hands. We stop wondering. But what if your breakthrough is on the other side of a question you've been too afraid to ask? Questions like, what would I do if I wasn't afraid? What does success actually mean to me? Am I living the life I want or the life others expect? These are not easy questions, but they're important ones. And asking them can lead you to more peace, purpose, and power than any quick fix or shortcut ever could. One of the most life-changing shifts you can make is turning inward with compassion and asking yourself, what do I need right now? So often, we look outside of ourselves for validation or direction, but your mind already holds more wisdom than you realize. It just needs the right prompt to bring it forward. If you ever feel stuck, lost, or overwhelmed, pause and ask, what's really going on underneath this feeling? You might discover that your anger is actually fear, that your procrastination is actually self-doubt, that your stress is coming from a story you're telling yourself about who you have to be. These insights can't be forced, but they can be invited, and questions are the invitation. Questions are also how you shift your focus. Instead of dwelling on what you don't have, ask, what am I grateful for right now? Instead of worrying about what could go wrong, ask, what could go right? Your focus is your fuel, and your questions decide what you're fueling. Over time, this practice becomes a mindset. You train yourself not just to react, but to reflect. You start catching those negative spirals and interrupting them with curiosity. You replace helplessness with wonder, and that opens up a whole new way of living. Here's what I've learned. The quality of your life is deeply connected to the quality of your questions. Shallow questions bring shallow growth, but brave, bold, honest questions, they lead you to the truth. They wake you up. They help you see yourself and the world with fresh eyes. Chapter 15, Meditation as Mental Mastery. There's a moment in every busy day when your mind screams for a pause, but the world around you just keeps moving. The noise never stops, and neither do the thoughts. You try to focus, but your mind pulls you in 100 directions. That's when meditation walks in, not as a magic spell, but as a quiet companion that helps you come home to yourself. Most people think meditation is reserved for monks in robes or spiritual gurus who renounce the world. But the truth is, meditation is for everyone, especially you, the person juggling responsibilities, chasing goals, and trying to make sense of this fast-moving life. Let's start by busting some myths. A lot of people believe you have to sit cross-legged for hours. chant strange words, or completely silence your thoughts to meditate the right way. That idea stops many before they even begin. But meditation isn't about forcing your mind to go blank. It's about learning to observe your thoughts without getting lost in them. It's about creating a little distance between the real you and the chaos your mind sometimes produces. Meditation doesn't require perfection. It simply asks for presence. Another common myth is that you must feel peaceful the entire time. But honestly, some days your mind will feel like a storm during meditation. That doesn't mean you're doing it wrong. In fact, noticing the storm is a sign that you're becoming aware, and awareness is the first step to mastery. Meditation doesn't promise instant peace. It builds it over time, like laying down bricks to create a sanctuary in your mind. So, how do you find the right meditation practice for you? That's the beauty of it. There's no one-size-fits-all. Some people find peace in focusing on their breath, feeling the inhale and exhale as anchors in the present moment. Others prefer guided meditations where a calming voice helps direct their focus. You might even find movement-based meditation, like walking mindfully or practicing yoga, to be the perfect fit. What matters is how it makes you feel. If it helps you slow down, breathe deeper, or connect with your inner self, then it's working. The goal isn't to escape your thoughts, but to see them more clearly. Meditation becomes a mirror. You begin to notice patterns. How quickly your mind jumps to judgment, how often it replays old fears, how easy it clings to worry. But the more you observe without reacting, the more those patterns begin to soften. Eventually, the mind, which once felt like an untamed river, starts to settle. You're not stopping the current. You're learning how to float. One of the most powerful gifts of meditation is how it can shift you from chaos to calm. Life will still throw challenges at you. Deadlines will still come. People may still test your patience. But with regular meditation, you build a stronger inner foundation. You stop reacting to everything. You start responding with clarity. You begin to carry calm within you like a quiet strength. It's not that the storm disappears. It's that you become the stillness in the middle of it. The real transformation happens not in a single session, but in the consistency. Meditation is not about doing it perfectly. It's about showing up, especially on the days you don't feel like it. The 5 minutes you give yourself in the morning or before bed are not wasted. They're moments of connection, little reminders to return to yourself. Over time, those moments begin to add up. The mind, once overwhelmed, becomes more spacious. Emotions that once took control become easier to navigate, and you begin to trust yourself more deeply. Meditation teaches you that mastery is not about control, but surrender. It's about letting go of the need to fix everything and learning to sit with what is. That simple act of sitting, breathing, noticing, it changes everything. You no longer feel like a prisoner of your mind. You become its master, not through force, but through gentle awareness. In a world that's constantly pushing you to do more, meditation invites you to simply be. It reconnects you to your breath, your body, and your inner peace. It reminds you that you are not your thoughts, not your stress, not your fears. You are the one who sees it all. And when you begin to live from that space, your life changes. Chapter 16. The Power of Stillness and Silence. In a world that moves fast, that screams for your attention with endless notifications, traffic, news, and noise, stillness has become something foreign, even frightening. Many of us are so used to being in motion mentally and physically that silence feels awkward and even uncomfortable. But here's the truth most people never realize. Stillness isn't empty. It's full of answers. It is in those quiet moments, where you're doing nothing and going nowhere, that your mind finally has space to breathe, reflect, and grow. The mind often fears silence because silence strips away distractions. When there's nothing external to focus on, we come face to face with our thoughts, emotions, and unresolved parts of ourselves. That's a scary place to be for many. We live in a world that teaches us to avoid discomfort, to keep scrolling, working, entertaining ourselves, anything but being alone with our thoughts. But personal transformation begins when we're brave enough to sit still and listen. When you embrace silence, you start noticing the voice beneath all the noise, the inner guidance that has always been trying to speak to you. This voice isn't loud. It doesn't shout. It whispers. And only in stillness can you truly hear it. Wisdom doesn't usually come during the hustle. It comes during the pause. That's when insights are born, when buried emotions rise up to be acknowledged, and when inspiration suddenly lights up your path. Think about the last time you had a breakthrough idea. Chances are it didn't come while you were checking emails or running errands. It probably came in the shower, during a walk, or in a moment of peace. That's no coincidence. Stillness creates the mental room needed for ideas to land. If we never slow down, we miss those inner gifts. When we create moments of stillness, we're not wasting time. We're recharging the mind. Silence is not the absence of something. It's the presence of everything essential. It brings clarity. It allows you to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. You begin to realize that you are not your thoughts. You are the awareness behind them. That shift alone can be life-changing. But learning to be still isn't easy. At first, your mind will resist. It might start racing, throwing up a million to-do lists, worries, or random thoughts. That's okay. It's just your brain detoxing from its usual chaos. The more you practice stillness, the more natural it becomes. Eventually, silence becomes your sanctuary, a place you look forward to rather than avoid. Creating space for mental breakthroughs means intentionally carving out time to simply be. It could be 5 minutes of sitting quietly in the morning before your day starts. It might be a walk in nature, without headphones. It might mean putting your phone on airplane mode and just watching the sunset. These simple acts give your mind space. And in that space, transformation can happen. You don't need hours of meditation or a remote retreat to access the power of stillness. You need presence. You need willingness. You need a few moments where you say to the world, "Not right now. I'm listening to me." Over time, these moments begin to shift the way you experience everything. You become more grounded, more centered. Stress doesn't shake you as easily. You become less reactive and more responsive. You start noticing things, like the way sunlight spills into your room, the sound of your own breath, the tension you've been carrying in your shoulders. Awareness grows, and with awareness comes choice. You no longer move through life on autopilot. You begin to act with intention. There's a sacredness in stillness. It teaches patience. It teaches presence. And most importantly, it teaches that you are enough, even when you're doing nothing. In a world that constantly demands performance, productivity, and results, choosing to simply be can feel rebellious. But it's a rebellion worth embracing, because it reconnects you to the core of who you are. Chapter 17, Creating an Environment that Supports Growth. There comes a moment in every personal growth journey when we realize something powerful. Change doesn't happen in isolation. No matter how determined or focused you are, the environment you live in, the people you interact with, and the spaces you move through every day deeply influence your mind and the choices you make. Growth isn't just about what happens in your thoughts. It's also about the energy that surrounds you. Think about a plant for a second. It doesn't matter how strong or vibrant the seed is. If it's planted in poor soil, gets no sunlight, and is constantly battered by wind, it will struggle to thrive. The same is true for us. We all carry potential. We all have inner strength. But if we're surrounded by negativity, chaos, or constant distraction, our personal growth will be limited, no matter how hard we try. The people around us, the energy in our space, the messages we absorb daily, all of it either nourishes our mindset or drains it. So if you're truly committed to training your mind to achieve anything, one of the most empowering things you can do is take a close look at the environment you're in and ask yourself, is this supporting who I'm trying to become? Let's begin with the people around you. Human beings are wired for connection, and our brains naturally mirror the emotions and behaviors of those we're closest to. If you're constantly around people who complain, gossip, criticize, or discourage your dreams, it's only a matter of time before that energy starts shaping your inner world. You may start doubting yourself more, second-guessing your decisions, or playing small without even realizing why. On the other hand, when you surround yourself with people who inspire you, who believe in your growth, and who reflect the kind of energy you want to carry, you start thinking differently. You start rising. Their encouragement becomes your fuel. Their confidence becomes contagious. And slowly, your mindset shifts toward possibilities instead of limitations. This doesn't mean you have to cut everyone out of your life or isolate yourself, but it does mean becoming more mindful of how your relationships make you feel. After spending time with someone, do you feel drained or energized? Do you walk away feeling seen and supported, or judged and misunderstood? Your emotional reactions are clues. Pay attention to them. Protect your mental space with the same care you would protect your physical space. Speaking of space, let's talk about the internal clutter we often carry with us. Just like physical clutter can overwhelm a room, mental clutter can weigh down the mind. Constant worry, overthinking, self-doubt, regret, and unfinished tasks create noise in your brain that drowns out clarity and peace. It's hard to grow when your mind feels like a messy drawer you're afraid to open. Detoxing your mental clutter is an act of self-respect. It's choosing to let go of the thoughts that no longer serve you and making room for focus, creativity, and calm. Start by identifying which thoughts you replay over and over, but never do anything about. Are you stuck thinking about the past? Are you carrying guilt, shame, or fear that keeps looping in your mind? Awareness is the first step. Once you recognize a clutter, you can begin to release it through journaling, talking with a trusted friend, meditating, or simply reminding yourself, I don't need to carry this anymore. Your mind is a powerful tool, but it needs space to breathe. When you clear out the noise, you make room for new, empowering beliefs to take root. As you work on clearing mental clutter, consider the kind of energy you invite into your daily life. Every person, place, sound, and even scent you're exposed to creates a certain vibration in your body. Some things lift you up. Others pull you down. Uplifting energy isn't about being positive all the time or pretending things are perfect. It's about creating an atmosphere that feels safe, grounded, and hopeful, an atmosphere that nurtures your growth. Maybe it's starting your day with calming music instead of checking your phone. Maybe it's lighting a candle, opening a window for fresh air, or placing a quote near your workspace that reminds you of your strength. Small shift in energy can make a big difference in how your day unfolds. Uplifting energy is less about the size of your environment and more about the intention behind it. Even your physical space, your home, your bedroom, your desk, can become a mirror for your mind. If your surroundings are chaotic, cluttered, or uninspiring, you may notice your thoughts start to feel the same. But if your environment feels clean, warm, and purposeful, it reinforces the idea that you are someone who values yourself, your time, and your growth. Designing your physical space for mental success doesn't mean you need a perfect, Pinterest-worthy home. It just means choosing to place things around you that remind you of who you're becoming. Maybe it's a vision board with your goals. Maybe it's removing distractions that steal your focus. Maybe it's organizing your room in a way that feels peaceful instead of overwhelming. Your physical space can either support your mind or sabotage it. The more intentional you are about what you allow in your environment, visually, emotionally, and energetically, the more empowered you'll feel to stay aligned with your purpose. The truth is, growth doesn't just happen in big moments. It happens in the everyday details. It's in the conversations you have, the media you consume, the way your space feels when you walk through the door. It's in the decisions you make to choose peace over chaos, clarity over clutter, and encouragement over criticism. And if you've been struggling to grow, if you felt stuck or discouraged, maybe it's not that you're lacking discipline or motivation. Maybe you just need to change your environment. Maybe your mind is trying to thrive in soil that doesn't support its roots. That's not your fault. But now that you see it, you have the power to do something about it. You deserve to live in an environment that supports your dreams, not one that dims them. You deserve to feel supported, seen, and safe to grow. And you have the right to make changes, no matter how small, that bring your surroundings into alignment with the person you're becoming. Creating an environment that supports growth is one of the most loving things you can do for yourself. It says, I believe in my future. I respect my journey. And I'm willing to create a space that reflects the life I want to live. It doesn't have to be complicated. It just has to be intentional. Start with what you can control. Notice how you feel around certain people. Clean out one corner of your home. Let go of one thought that no longer serves you. Choose one thing that brings light into your day. Then do it again tomorrow. Growth is not a race. It's a process. An environment you create internally and externally, becomes a garden where that growth takes root. Make it a place where your mind feels a home. Make it a space where your heart feels safe to bloom. You are not stuck. You are simply being called to rise. And part of rising means choosing to grow in soil that supports your strength, your peace, and your limitless potential. Chapter 18. Replacing comparison with self-compassion. There's a quiet thief that robs people of their joy, confidence, and peace of mind. It doesn't always shout or demand attention. In fact, it often disguises itself as motivation or harmless curiosity. But the more we entertain it, the more it grows. That thief is comparison. We live in a world that makes comparison almost unavoidable. With just a few swipes, we can see someone else's highlight reel, what they're achieving, how they look, where they're traveling, and how perfectly their life appears to be unfolding. It starts with admiration, but very quickly, it can turn into a sinking feeling in our chest. We begin to ask ourselves questions that chip away at our self-worth. Why am I not there yet? Why don't I look like that? Why isn't my life moving forward as fast? Comparison, when left unchecked, becomes toxic. It turns our attention away from our own path and places it on someone else's timeline. It creates a constant sense of lack, even when we're making progress. It convinces us that we're falling behind, not good enough, or somehow missing out. And worst of all, it often causes us to ignore our own strengths, growth, and unique journey. What makes comparison so dangerous is that it's usually silent. No one else hears the cruel thoughts we whisper to ourselves. No one sees how deeply we criticize our own reflection or downplay our accomplishments just because they don't look as flashy as someone else's. But over time, that silent comparison begins to shape how we feel about ourselves, and that changes everything. The truth is, comparing your journey to someone else's is like trying to measure your heartbeat with another person's pulse. It just doesn't work. We all come from different stories, different experiences, and different battles. What someone else is showing you may be the result of years of struggle, privilege, pain, or support that you don't see. Their success doesn't take anything away from yours. Their timing isn't your timing, and their path was never meant to be your path. So what do we do instead? How do we break free from the cycle of comparison and step into a mindset that actually supports our growth? The answer is radical self-compassion. Self-compassion isn't just about being kind to yourself when you make a mistake. It's about making a decision every day to treat yourself like someone you love. It means recognizing that you're doing your best, even when things aren't perfect. It means showing up for yourself, even when no one else seems to be watching. And it means choosing to be on your own side, especially when your inner critic gets loud. Imagine how your life would feel if, instead of constantly questioning your worth based on what others are doing, you started measuring your progress based on how far you've come. Imagine replacing the voice that says, "You should be better by now," with one that says, "Look how far you've already come." That's the power of self-compassion. It quiets the noise of comparison and brings your focus back to your own truth. But self-compassion isn't always easy, especially when you spent years holding yourself to impossible standards. You might be used to thinking that you need to be hard on yourself to succeed. You might believe that if you're too gentle with yourself, you'll lose motivation. But that's a lie your inner critic tells you to keep you stuck. Research has shown that people who practice self-compassion are actually more resilient, more motivated, and more emotionally balanced. That's because when you feel safe within yourself, when you know that even in your lowest moments, you won't abandon yourself, you become braver. You take more risks. You stop fearing failure because you know it won't define your worth. And isn't that what we all need? A sense of safety within our own minds. A place where we can land when the world feels overwhelming. A voice inside us that says, "You're doing okay. Keep going." To truly embrace self-compassion, you have to let go of the idea that your growth has to look a certain way. You have to stop using someone else's journey as your measuring stick. Growth isn't a race. It doesn't have to be loud or impressive. Sometimes growth is invisible. It's waking up and trying again after a hard day. It's saying no to something that drains you. It's choosing rest without guilt. It's forgiving yourself for not having it all figured out. And that kind of growth, it's real, it's powerful, and it deserves to be celebrated. When you stop comparing yourself to others, you free up energy to actually invest in your own life. You start noticing your own wins, big and small. You begin setting goals that matter to you, not ones designed to impress anyone else. You begin to listen to your own voice instead of chasing validation from people who may never understand your dreams. Most importantly, you begin to become your own ally. Being your own ally means showing up for yourself the way you show up for the people you love. It means reminding yourself that your worth isn't based on productivity, appearance, or status. It's based on the simple truth that you are enough, right now, as you are. This doesn't mean you stop growing or reaching for more. It means you no longer shame yourself into growth. You love yourself into it. You offer yourself grace instead of judgment. You push yourself with encouragement instead of fear. When you become your own ally, you stop waiting for others to approve of you. You stop needing constant praise to feel valuable. You start trusting your inner wisdom and following your own timing. You learn how to be proud of yourself, even if no one else claps. You recognize your own milestones, even if they don't look like anyone else's. And in that space, where comparison fades and self-compassion takes root, you begin to grow in a way that's deeper, steadier, and far more sustainable. You build a mindset that doesn't just help you survive, but allows you to thrive. If there's one thing to take away from this chapter, it's this: you are not behind. You are not less than. You are simply on your own journey, and that journey is just as valuable, just as beautiful, and just as worthy as anyone else's. It's time to stop measuring your life by someone else's story. You're the author of your own. And every step you take, every moment you choose self-compassion over self-criticism, is a powerful act of healing and growth. Comparison may still show up from time to time. That's okay. The goal isn't to eliminate it completely. The goal is to recognize it when it comes and gently remind yourself, I'm on my own path, and I'm doing just fine. Be kind to yourself. Be patient. Be proud. You've come so far, and you're still becoming. Trust that. Trust you. Chapter 19, The Mindset of Lifelong Learning. There's a quiet power that separates those who keep growing from those who stay stuck. It's not talent. It's not luck. It's not even intelligence. It's the mindset of lifelong learning. You see, growth doesn't stop when you graduate from school, get a job, or hit a certain age. It's not something you check off a to-do list. Growth is not a destination. It's a way of being. It's a mindset. And it starts with one simple but powerful idea. Never stop being a student. Many people make the mistake of thinking they know enough. Maybe they've read a few books, taken some courses, or had some life experience, and they begin to believe they've figured it all out. But the moment you stop learning is the moment you stop evolving. Life will keep moving forward, whether you're growing with it or not. Lifelong learning is not about having all the answers. In fact, it's the opposite. It's about staying open to the idea that there's always more to learn. It's choosing curiosity over certainty. It's being humble enough to say, maybe there's another way. Maybe I don't know everything yet. That kind of humility doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. The truth is, comfort is the enemy of growth. The moment you settle into what's familiar, what's easy, what's predictable, you start shrinking. You stop reaching. You stop stretching. And slowly, without even realizing it, you begin to live the same day over and over again. That's not living. That's just existing. But when you stay curious, you stay awake. You begin to see the world differently. You ask questions. You explore new perspectives. You challenge your old beliefs. And as you do that, your mind expands. Your thinking gets sharper. Your heart grows softer. You become more aware of your habits, your choices, your patterns, and you give yourself permission to grow beyond them. The best learners are not the smartest people in the room. They're the ones who are most open. They listen more than they speak. They don't try to impress. They try to understand. They don't fear being wrong. They welcome correction because it helps them improve. This kind of mindset isn't always natural. It's something you build step by step by choosing growth over ego. One of the most important shifts you can make is learning to challenge what you think you already know. We all carry mental stories, beliefs we picked up from childhood, culture, experiences, or past mistakes. Some of these beliefs serve us. but many of them don't. They hold us back, keeping us small and safe. And the only way to outgrow them is to question them. Ask yourself, is this still true for me? Where did I learn this belief? Is it helping me become who I want to be? This kind of reflection isn't about doubting yourself. It's about freeing yourself. When you begin to examine your thinking, you give yourself a choice. You can keep believing what you've always believed, or you can rewrite the script. You can change the narrative. You can grow. Becoming a student of life means looking at every experience, good or bad, as an opportunity to learn. It means asking, what can this moment teach me? Even when things don't go your way. Especially when things don't go your way. Because those moments of discomfort, failure, and confusion, they're the greatest classrooms you'll ever step into. It takes courage to learn from life instead of running from it. It takes strength to sit with your mistakes instead of hiding from them. But every time you do, you gain wisdom. You learn how to handle things better next time. You grow stronger, wiser, and more equipped for what lies ahead. Lifelong learning is also about learning from people, not just books or courses. Every person you meet has something to teach you, if you're willing to pay attention. The stranger in the coffee shop, the friend who challenges you, the co-worker who sees the world differently. Even the people who frustrate you, they're mirrors reflecting something valuable back to you. When you adopt this mindset, you stop labeling things as good or bad, right or wrong. You start seeing everything as feedback. Every success is a lesson. Every setback is a lesson. Every conversation, every experience, every season of life, it's all here to help you grow, if you let it. The most powerful thing about lifelong learning is that it keeps you evolving. It keeps your dreams alive. It helps you adapt in a world that's always changing. The moment you think you've arrived, you stop growing. But when you decide you'll never be done learning, you keep opening new doors. You keep reinventing yourself. You keep surprising yourself with how much more you're capable of. This mindset isn't just about knowledge. It's about becoming. It's about who you are becoming as you keep learning. More patient, more confident, more compassionate, more aware. You learn not just how to do more, but how to be more. And here's the most beautiful part. You don't need to learn everything overnight. You just need to keep taking small steps. Read a page. Ask a question. Try something new. Reflect on your day. Every small act of learning adds up. Over time, it becomes a way of life. So if you've ever felt stuck, unmotivated, or unsure of your next move, start here. Ask yourself, what can I learn today? Let that question guide your thoughts. Let it shape your habits. Let it become your compass. Because the more you learn, the more you grow. And the more you grow, the more you become the person you were always meant to be. The journey of personal development isn't about reaching perfection. It's about staying in motion. It's about embracing the process of becoming. It's about waking up each day with a sense of wonder, a willingness to be wrong, and a hunger to grow just a little bit more than yesterday. In a world that changes so fast, the people who thrive aren't the ones who know it all. They're the ones who stay open. They're the ones who keep learning, keep unlearning, and keep relearning. They're the ones who stay curious, even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. Because real growth begins when you leave your comfort zone and step into the unknown with an open heart and a teachable spirit. And that's what it means to train your mind to achieve anything. It means becoming a lifelong learner. Not because you have to, but because you get to. Because life still has so much to teach you. And you're finally ready to listen. Chapter 20, The Identity of a Mind-Trained Achiever. There comes a moment in every personal growth journey when you stop simply practicing new habits and start becoming someone new. That shift doesn't happen overnight, but it begins when you realize that you're not just changing your actions, you're reshaping your identity. That's what this chapter is all about. By now, you've done the hard work. You've trained your mind to be stronger, calmer, and more focused. Now, it's time to step fully into the identity of a mind-trained achiever. You've been rewiring the way you think. Every time you challenged a limiting belief, resisted a negative impulse, or chose a more empowering thought, you've been sculpting a new version of yourself. Maybe you haven't noticed it fully yet, but look closely. You've already started becoming someone different. Someone who no longer reacts automatically, but responds with awareness. Someone who doesn't give up at the first sign of failure, but instead sees obstacles as opportunities to learn. You're evolving, and your new identity is emerging from the inside out. This identity isn't something you have to force. It's not about pretending to be someone you're not. Instead, it's about revealing who you truly are underneath the noise of old patterns, fears, and doubts. The mind-trained achiever is not a fantasy version of you. It's the most authentic version. And when you begin to see yourself that way, you naturally start acting in alignment with that identity. The power of identity is often underestimated. People try to change their behavior without shifting how they see themselves. That's why so many resolutions and goals fail. They're built on the surface instead of from the core. But when you truly believe you're someone capable, resilient, and focused, your actions begin to reflect that belief. You don't need to force discipline. It becomes second nature. You don't need to fake confidence. It grows from within. Because everything you do flows from who you believe you are. Think about how you've been showing up differently in your life. Maybe you now take a few extra seconds before reacting. Maybe you speak more kindly to yourself. Maybe you start pursuing goals you once thought were out of reach. These aren't small things. These are signs that your identity has started shifting. And the more you reinforce these actions, the stronger this new identity becomes. Daily reinforcement is key. Just like muscles grow stronger with repetition, so does your mental wiring. Every time you choose a higher thought, the focused action, or the patient response, you deepen those neural pathways. You don't need perfection. What you need is consistency. Even on your off days, when you feel tired or overwhelmed, choosing just one small action in alignment with your new identity keeps the momentum alive. That's how transformation sticks. Not with grand gestures, but with small, repeated choices. Living as a mind-trained achiever doesn't mean life becomes easy or problems disappear. It means you face life with a different energy. You stop living in survival mode and start living in creation mode. You take control of your focus, your habits, and your responses. You become the kind of person who doesn't wait for circumstances to change, but who changes from within and shapes the world through inner mastery. That's the identity you've been building all along, even when it didn't feel like it. There's a kind of quiet confidence that comes with mental training. It's not loud or boastful. It's grounded, steady, and unshakable. You begin to trust yourself more, not because you think you'll always get it right, but because you know you'll keep going no matter what. That trust is what sets achievers apart. It's not about having all the answers. It's about having the courage to keep asking the right questions and showing up every day with intention. You might not feel like you've arrived yet. That's okay. Growth is not a destination. It's a journey. But as you continue to do this inner work, you'll start seeing yourself differently in the mirror, not just in how you look, but in how you carry yourself, how you think, and how you interact with the world. That's when you'll know. You become the mind-trained achiever you set out to be. This is not the end of the road. In fact, it's the beginning of a new chapter in your life, one where your inner strength becomes a foundation for everything you build. You've trained your mind not just to survive, but to thrive. And now, it's time to live from that place every single day. Conclusion: you are the author of your mind. As you reach the final pages of this book, pause for a moment and take a deep breath. Let it sink in. You've come a long way. You've explored the vast terrain of your mind, unlocking pieces of yourself that may have once felt hidden, forgotten, or out of reach. But here's the truth. You were never broken or lacking. You were simply waiting to remember your power. This journey wasn't about adding something new. It was about reclaiming what was always yours. One of the most important truths to carry with you is this: your mind is always listening. It listens not only to the words you speak out loud, but also to the quiet whispers you say to yourself when no one else is around. Every time you doubt your worth, your mind listens. Every time you choose courage over fear, your mind listens. With every repeated thought, whether nurturing or harmful, your mind takes notes, adjusts, and builds the blueprint of your beliefs. This is why awareness is everything. Because when you're aware, you become intentional. And when you're intentional, you become powerful. You now know that mental mastery isn't a switch you flip once and forget about. It's a practice, a daily devotion. Just as your body needs consistent movement and nourishment to thrive, your mind craves direction, clarity, and space to grow. Some days, your inner world will feel bright and effortless. Other days, it might feel heavy and chaotic. But no matter what, the key is to keep showing up. Mental training is not about perfection. It's about returning. Returning to your breath, your values, your purpose. Returning to your vision for who you want to become. The path of personal growth doesn't come with a finish line. There's no final chapter where you earn a medal, and everything becomes easy forever. And that's a beautiful thing. Growth is an unfolding, a never-ending spiral of learning, shedding, healing, and rising. It's less about reaching a destination and more about becoming deeply present in your evolution. Who you are today is not the final version of you, and that's exciting. You will continue to meet new parts of yourself, rise through challenges, and surprise yourself with your strength. You'll continue to fall and rise again, each time a little wiser and more whole. There may be moments ahead when you forget your progress, when old fears return, when doubt whispers louder than confidence, when the path feels foggy. In those moments, come back to the foundation this book has offered you. Remember that you have the tools now. You have the power to pause, redirect, and choose again. You've trained your mind to recognize your thoughts instead of being ruled by them. You've practiced shifting your focus, embracing discomfort, and nurturing stillness. You've explored the truth that your emotions are guides, not enemies. You've learned to lead yourself. Keep training. Even on the days when it feels like nothing is changing. Even when you slip into old habits. Keep training. Because a real transformation isn't always visible in the moment. It's revealed in the long run. It shows up in how you speak to yourself, how you bounce back from setbacks, how you show up for people you love, and how you carry yourself when no one is watching. Keep rising. There will be times when the world tests your resolve. When life throws challenges that seem too big, too painful, or too unfair. But each time you rise, you remind yourself of your resilience. You prove that you are more than your circumstances. You become stronger, not in spite of your struggles, but because of them. And most of all, keep becoming. Let life mold you, shape you, and stretch you. Let it awaken new layers of compassion, strength, patience, and joy. Allow yourself to be a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. There is no need to rush the process. There's no pressure to have it all figured out. Your evolution is uniquely yours, and it's unfolding at the perfect pace. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be powerful, to live fully awake, to love deeply, dream boldly, and walk through life with an open heart and a strong mind. So, if you ever feel lost, uncertain, or stuck, remember this. You are the author of your mind. You hold the pen. You write the story. And no matter what the past has looked like, the next chapter is blank, waiting for you to create something beautiful, something honest, something real. Thank you for walking this journey with me. Now, go forward, not just with more knowledge, but with more belief in who you are and who you're becoming. Keep training, keep rising, keep becoming. The best is yet to come. Thank you for listening. Like, share, and subscribe to our channel to get update with upcoming audiobooks.